to the Podcast Must Go On, a podcast where we talk with your favorite creators in the theater industry. My name is Haley.
My name is Damian.
Would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners?
Sure. Hi, my name is Joey Vieira. I am an actor. I live in Australia, and I'm originally from Livingston, California.
Cool. Our first question is, what inspired you to pursue in acting?
What inspired me to pursue acting? It's interesting you asked that question. What did interest me? You know what's funny is, so acting for me sort of was all happened by accident. I'm a very, I would say even still today, a very energetic human who can't sit still. I'm always trying to do something, always trying to be as active as possible. And I found myself on stage when I was studying ballet in Merced through a girlfriend I was dating way back in the day. And I absolutely loved being on stage and performing and entertaining others. And that then led to me not really sure what to do, because that went into like musical theater, and obviously, you know, just doing more work on stage, but not just dancing, acting and singing. Not the strongest singer. I just want to put that out there right now. And don't go thinking I can sing. I can hold a note. You know, in the amateur stuff, it's. I think they could take what they could get. They just took what they could get. But I had a blast. I had a really good time. And one of my directors that I had worked with on a show called Starmites, I still remember that. I had asked him, because I was going into university, and I was asking him, you know, what I should major in. And he said, well, what do you enjoy doing? I said, well, I enjoy this. He's like, well, then just major in this. Major in theater. Major in acting. I said, really? He said, yeah. So people go and major in, you know, all kinds of things. Business, law, doctor's degrees, and they come out doing something else, or who knows what. Like it's not something that's gonna, you know, you don't have to go into what you major in. But it's just, why not just try and enjoy that journey though, while you're at school studying something you actually enjoy doing? And I was like, that's a good point. So it inspired me, I guess, was just by accident, like I said, and just being on stage through a girl I was dating, and then falling in love with it and continuing it. So I haven't stopped. This is like 100 years ago, and I never stopped. I never gave up. And it's funny because you have people throughout your life, you know, ask you, you know, well, what else do you want to do when you say you're acting? And it's a fair question, because I'd say most actors don't succeed. When I say most, I want to say probably 98 to 99% of people who go after this career do not succeed. Financially, especially. Financially is you know, I think one of the hardest things to earn a living. Mm-hmm. Acting is really, really hard. I've stuck through it, and I guess I can say I've succeeded. I'm happy. I guess that's what really matters at the end of the day. But yeah, it was all by accident, and just being on stage and enjoying entertaining others.
I really like that story. That was really nice.
Yeah.
What do you love about your job, or like what drives you to wake up every day and do what you do?
I have to say, as we get older, we realize how limited our time is on this planet. And I am one of those who tries to make the most out of every day. And I still remember what school do you guys? You guys go to Livingston High School? What school do you guys go to?
I go to Pittman High School in Turlock.
Pittman? Okay.
Yeah.
I went to Livingston, obviously. And I still remember Mr. Winton, our economics and history teacher. They're both. I think it was economics teacher. My junior, senior year, just saying live life to the fullest. And what he meant by that was, time is short and trying to enjoy every day. And that's what I try and do. It's not the acting that gets me out of bed. It's just breathing, moving. We don't know how lucky we are. Those of us who have food on our tables and a roof over our head, and myself having a awesome little child, a little mini me that I've absolutely loved having. It's been an amazing chapter in my life, and I can say that today is sort of what gets me out of bed is being a super dad for my kid, and a super husband for my wife. So for right now, it's not really the career that does that for me. It's more of my family and just wanting to be around for as long as possible, and as fit as possible as well. And that's one thing I also focus on, and that's my health, with what I eat, and physical activity, just to keep this body, this vessel, in motion for as long as possible.
That was great. Thank you.
I'm going to give you really old man answers. I'm old.
No, I like them. They're super sentimental and sweet. I can tell that you have put a lot of meaning into it.
What's your favorite part about being an actor?
My favorite part about this is all acting things. I love it. My favorite thing about being an actor is from the projects I've done recently has been the entertainment value. It's about entertaining others, and especially the kids. I had a little girl, I think she's 5, little Ella, which is my son's good friend's little sister. And she stopped me to ask me how I got onto the screen at the cinema. She couldn't quite figure out how I could be there and then yet still be at the school dropping off my kid. She was completely confused. But she really enjoyed the project. She really enjoyed and was very, very entertained by watching the movie Dora. And that's why I do it. To me, that result. That's what just fills me with joy is the love, entertaining children, especially, and adults and the other projects I've done. But I could say I get more joy and happiness out of doing kids projects.
What is a memory that you really enjoy from filming Dora?
A memory that I enjoy from filming Dora. What is a good memory from filming Dora? Gosh, we had so many cool memories. Look, filming Dora, there were so many cool things that we did on set that were fun. And hanging out and getting to know other actors from that I've watched on the big screen and on TV, like Eva Longoria and Michael Pena. And just realizing just how down to earth everybody is, which was really, really cool. You see these people on the big screen, and even myself, I'm on the big screen as well. But even for me, like it's just I see them, and you never know when you're going to meet them or hang out with them, or even be blessed to work with them, which I have. And they were just so down to earth. But I can say the most fun we've had that we had was not on set. It was after. So we would always go out afterwards. Not always, but a lot of times we'd go out after filming, depending on what the next day was looking like. We had time. We'd go out dancing. We'd go out for dinner. I remember this one place we went to. It was a little tapas place, a little Spanish tapas place in Fortitude Valley in Queensland, Australia, where we're filming. And they had live music going, and great food. And I brought my son with me. And it was a handful of us at a dinner table, mainly just the actors. And when the music came on, we all got up and we danced. We had a blast. And I can say that's probably the most memorable, time for me during the shoot was not on set, but actually just the time we had together having fun, dancing.
It sounds like a lot of fun. Is there a lot of pressure knowing that your performance is permanent, or did the multiple takes help take off that pressure?
It all depends on budget. which you guys don't really see. So multiple takes means that there's more for them to work with when they're in the editing, when they go to in post. So once they've shot the day, they've got plenty of footage and different setups and angles to work with to make it, as awesome as possible. That only really happens on your bigger projects. Like, for example, like Dora was like that. San Andreas, the big movie, that's also like that. When you work on smaller projects, especially like TV shows, you don't get that benefit. So you get 1-2 takes. So yes, there's more pressure on you to have a great performance from the get-go. And with movies and TV, with bigger films and bigger budgets, there's not as much pressure, which means you're a bit more, as an actor, you're a bit more relaxed. So yeah, it just depends on the. It's funny. It depends on the budget, and what that means is, give me an example. So for a feature film like Dora, I'm just using that because we just did that not too long ago. We were shooting about a page a day. Okay, so, and what they say is one page is about a minute long. So that's about a minute of footage on the screen. So 120 pages is 120 minutes. And in a big feature film, they shoot about 1 page per day on average. They might shoot 2 in one day, but they usually shoot 1 per day. And I give you the extreme of the other end. A soap opera, which you guys all know soaps, like Days of Our Lives, General Hospital, they shoot the entire episode and a little more in one day.
Oh, wow.
So General Hospital is 40, I think it's like 48 pages. So they'll shoot close to probably 55 or 60 pages in one day. In a big budget feature film, we shoot 1 page in one day.
Wow.
On a show like Reef Break, we'll shoot 1 episode in a week. If it's got action, a week and a half. And usually that's usually 2 crews. You usually do a lot of your drama stuff during the week in that 5-day period. And then the other 2 or 3 days they allow for any action stuff. So they have a second crew and you go off, we're on boats and there's explosions and there's fireworks, there's all that stuff takes a lot more time. It's a lot more dangerous. So they have to take more time with it. So you can't shoot the week of an episode. You have to add a bit more to it. So that's Reef Break. So that means that in one day, I think we're shooting 6 to 10 pages a day. In a day, in a daytime sort of, or an evening show, a sitcom, similar as well. When I did, so that's TV, film. So Dora was a big budget. I did a smaller budget one called Romance on the Menu, which is on Netflix here in Australia, and it'll be released in America early next year, and most likely on Netflix, but I'm not quite sure yet. I haven't made that announcement. But Romance on the Menu, again, it's 120 minutes, or is it 90? It's around there. It's around 100 minutes of so it's just over an hour, hour and a half, and that took us. They shot the entire film in 3 weeks, so over 15 days. So we're shooting 20 to 30 pages a week. So that's roughly almost 10 pages a day. Is that right? Yeah, almost. Yeah, so about 9 pages a day. Again, I'm just trying to give you like the math on how this all works. You're shooting a big feature film, big budget, 1 page a day. Smaller budgets, anywhere from 8, 10 to 10 pages a day, up to a soap opera, which will shoot up to 60 pages a day. So a lot more pressure. So which one you think is harder to do as an actor? The soap opera. This is the most difficult one to do in comparison to a big budget feature film. But this is also why the big feature films look so amazing. They really take their time with it. They perfect it. It's an art. And and the money that goes into it is ridiculous. But at the same time, if it wasn't there, it wouldn't be as pretty or as entertaining. And there's a big difference between like Romance in the Menu, which is a romantic comedy, to a Dora project, where Dora's got, a lot of green screen. You've got the little monkey being thrown in, lots of explosions, jungle and animals, and all that stuff just takes loads of time and massive sets. So I'm not sure what your question was, but there's more pressure in doing lower budget or TV stuff compared to the bigger budget movie stuff. And it doesn't really cross your mind. It just means you got to put a lot more work prior to being on set.
Cool.
So, do you have any advice for aspiring actors?
Aspiring actors. I do. I have loads of advice.
I happen to be an aspiring actor myself.
Me too.
What's funny, so I teach as well. The other thing I do is I put a lot of time into working with the youth and adults, because I love it. I love giving back. And I feel this is a way for me to be able to, and this is why I'm also doing this podcast with you guys. I like to open up about my experience. I feel like I wasn't given anything to start off. You guys now have, especially like you've got the internet, you can go and do your own research. Back in the day when I started, there wasn't any. It was all trial and experimental and guessing. I went from, studying at Stanislaus State University, and I did some courses at Modesto and Merced while I was studying at Stanislaus University. And I left Stanislaus and went straight to Northridge, Cal State Northridge, to get a degree in theater, because I thought that was sort of the steps you have to take. And I really wanted to study acting. And I can say it was my journey was, it worked for me. It worked for me. But the journey's gonna be different for everybody. I went and did theater, and then from there, I did a 2-year Meisner technique with Joanne Barron, DW Brown Studio, which is located in Los Angeles. But I felt like if I wanted to be in it, I need to be in an area where the work is. And that would be my advice to you guys, is you do have to be, because you can self-test, you kind of don't have to anymore. But at the same time, I think your odds are better if you live in an area where there's a lot of filming going on. So my advice would be study acting, whether it be doing theater classes, preferably acting for camera classes. And I'm not sure if there's any acting for camera classes in your community. There might not be, because they're best taught by people like myself who are acting on camera. So we teach you sort of the ins and outs of what's expected, whether it be on set or for auditions or self-testing. And there's things that can make you stand out as a professional as opposed to standing out as someone who's never done this before, which is how most people would look. And you'll be eliminated from a process of getting a role the minute they notice that you've never done this before, because it means that they're going to have to spend more time with you on set to get it right. It's the same thing as a job interview. You go in and you're nervous and you've never done this before, and you come across as not being confident. The person with confidence going into the room, even though you both have the same experience background, as far as you get the same degrees, the person that comes across a lot more confident is going to get the job. The only way you get that confidence as an actor is with the experience, or doing classes and courses that put you through that experience or that process. But if you want to do it, I'd say for right now, you're at home. You guys are all sort of in lockdown, I think, still.
Yeah.
Take advantage of YouTube. There's loads of little courses on YouTube you guys can watch and try and study. Get together and do scenes. This is just stuff that won't cost you anything. Get together and do scenes together. And then from there, I would also say, if you guys have some creative minds in the group, which you would, because if you're all actors, you have that. Write short scripts, like short films, 5-minute one or a 10-minute one, and film those and submit them to film festivals. And that's another way to sort of get recognized in the industry. And then as as your films get acclimated in any way, which could be just being accepted into a film festival, or getting awards at a film festival, or individually getting an award from acting or directing in the film that you've done through a film festival, that can then get the attention from casting directors and producers in Los Angeles or in Hollywood, to then want them to take interest in you, to see you for a project that they're working on. So those are just some steps that you can do on your own that probably won't cost you anything, because you can film these things on your iPhones. That shouldn't cost you anything. You should teach yourself how to edit. You can start if you've got Apple devices, you can start on the iMac or an Apple Mac Pro book. You've got iMovie on there. Teach yourself how to edit. Learn about sound. You research this on YouTube. How to shoot a small scene, right? Lighting, sound, camera work. Tripods, all kinds of things. You'll learn about all the equipment tools you're going to need to do it, which won't be too expensive. But as an aspiring actor, I would say study it and try and create your own content. And if you don't get into festivals, or if that's not a road you want to go down, you can just start, like a podcast, but you start a YouTube channel. And there's other platforms you can use as well to put your stuff out there. Even like Vimeo is another one that has where you guys can upload videos and stuff and create your own channel. So you can do it that way. You have a lot more opportunities today than I did back in my day, where film and TV stuff was made on film, and it cost, if you shot a short film, for example, it would cost $30,000 to develop the film that you shot on. So it was extremely expensive. Where today, you guys, you've seen festivals where they have festivals that are just dedicated to shooting on iPhones. So you can do the research on what festivals are out there, and look at ones that are youth focused. So you guys have one where you're submitting, but you're also competing with other kids your age, and that can help boost your, I guess, your brand, because that's what you end up being at the end of the day. Your name becomes a brand. And then the more you work, the more popular you are, the more people want to see you, and then the more possibilities you get at being in projects.
I know that.
And the more projects you do, the the bigger the brand you become. That's, and if you work with other brands, for example, like me working with, Michael Pena, Eva Longoria, that adds more value to my brand. Working with, Dwayne Johnson, adds more value to my brand. And then as an agent, if you have an agent, when you get an agent, that helps them pitch you and promote you to get auditions for other TV shows and movies.
What is your personal favorite movie or TV show that you've done so far?
That I've done? I can say I did a comedy series late last year called How to Stay Married. It was season 2, where I played Carlos Garcia from España. And it was probably my most fun that I've had. I got to work with some amazing actors, very well-known actors here in Australia. One's a stand-up comedian, and it's his show. And the other actress, Lisa McCune, is just she's been here forever. She's done loads of work. She's a very well-respected actress, and they've got this series, which they just announced last week. It's getting a season 3. But I develop a bromance with the main character, with Peter Hillier's character, and we just had a blast. Honestly, just had a great time filming that. And I guess for me, I love comedy. So getting those opportunities is awesome. But that's probably been my most fun. I've had a blast on, I think, everything I've ever worked on. I'm always pinching myself when I'm on set. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. Working with Poppy Montgomery on Reef Break was so much fun, and Poppy's a total hoot. What's great about these things too is you end up having, well, not everybody, but you end up establishing some really cool relationships with people that sometimes that you grew up watching on TV. I know when I did the voiceover on The Simpsons, I was pinching myself again, like going, oh my God, my voice is going to be on The Simpsons. This is bizarre. Like, how did this happen? But I think the most fun recently was working on How to Stay Married. season 2.
What was it like doing The Simpsons? Because that's such a huge like brand and show.
Yeah. Um, like you go into these things not really knowing what to expect. I went in and I had done some work with Marta Kaufman, who plays Marge. And is that correct? Am I saying the right name? Jeez, you're making me look this up now. Sorry, it's Julia Kavner. Marta is someone else. Marta's from Friends. Julie Kavanaugh plays Marge. And what's funny, so Julie actually has that really raspy voice. She talks like this all the time. Hey, Joey, nice to meet you. Okay, so how do I pronounce some of these words here? So we'll just go, and then if you can just say them, and then I'll just try and repeat them. Okay? She talks like that. That really hurts my voice. She was so sweet, but I got to set. I had been called in. A producer had rang me to see if I could come in and coach her to speak Portuguese, and I went and did that. Worked with her for about an hour for the episode, and then when I was leaving, they said, "Thanks. I'm sure we'll see you again." And I said, "Oh, okay, yeah, great, thank you," and I left. And then about a month later, I got a call from the casting at The Simpsons, and they said I was cast for a role in that episode. And checked my availability. I came in, and I probably did about 30 minutes of work. Again, it was just one of those where like I'm always pinching myself when I'm on set. But look, you're at the Fox lot. It's big. Like I got to, as soon as I walked into the sound room, because it's a big soundproof room that you go into to record all of these. They had this big box of goodies. It was a big goodie box from The Simpsons, and it was just one of those like, welcome to the family. Here you go. And I was like, what is this for? It's like that. Everybody gets one of these. You're now a Simpsons voice. I was like, thank you. Which was really cool. It was just, again, like I'm pinching myself being there, and I had this massive box, and did my work with them, with the director, and then left. The month prior, I had done the table read with them, all of them there, which was really cool because all the actors are in the room. But for this one, it was really short and sweet. And then from there, I then became part of the Simpsons family for season 25. And I get like lots of invites to events and parties that the Simpsons are having. I'm on that list, I guess, now. And when we moved to Australia, the producer had emailed me to find out what my address was. And I said, I live in Australia. He's like, I know. What's your address? I was like, I don't know. Here's my address. And then about a month later, a box arrived. It was a bicycle. They sent me a 25th anniversary Simpsons bicycle. Which is very rare, apparently, and I use it. It's here at home, and it's one of my little spare bikes in the garage.
It's very interesting.
I've got a lot of little things with Simpsons. I got shirts and knickknacks and DVDs and all kinds of little toys and stuff that was in the box.
Oh,
yeah, that's my Simpsons story.
That's great. Which role in like any of the movies or shows that you've been in was the most challenging to either act in or like film in general?
Okay, a role that was the most difficult. I'm gonna go through my head now. I have to say, I think I've just booked a role in a movie, which I can't talk about. It's one of those you can't talk about. And the character, from what they're also very secretive on what I'm getting. And so far from what I've read, it's a bit twisted and weird. I have a feeling this is probably going to be the most challenging role that I do. Just from what the information I've gotten so far. And and from the read I've done that this movie is based off of, it's out there. So I have a feeling this is going to be the most. I don't even know what I'm going to look like. I'm not sure if they're going to be shaving my head or what they're doing.
Wow.
It's extremely secretive. This whole thing. This is what happens when you shoot a lot of these bigger projects. Always you sign an NDA and you can't talk about them, and you can't. So I'm talking about nothing right now with you guys. I have a feeling that's going to be the most challenging work that I've done, that I'll be doing. Although prior to this, I think it's funny. I think you asked the question earlier, like what's harder, having a job where because you're going to be on, on the big screen or whatever, or on TV, and you get either fewer takes or a lot of takes. I can say that the projects with the most money are probably the projects that are there is a bit more pressure on us as actors. Pretty relaxed on set, but there's a bit more pressure to get it right, but also for the end product to be amazing and to make money, which to them that's the sign of success. It's not, people loved it. It's like, nah, millions of people watched it, like that to them, and they made millions of dollars. That's success, not how amazing the project was. It's how much money did it make. So when you're working on these bigger projects, you really want them to do well. You want them to succeed. You want everyone to be happy. So I could say, like, probably the biggest budget was probably that I've worked on was San Andreas, but that was such a small role. But I'd say probably Dora was probably the one that I was probably a bit more, not more, I wasn't nervous. I was just a bit more pressure that I put on myself to get that right, that character right. Just keeping him, as true to the animated series as possible.
Okay, I just have a question of my own. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Of course.
So like when I was little, Dora was on, so like that's what I grew up with. So like how was it like working on something that is like such a like big like name, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's being on a project like Dora with, my son also grew up on Dora and Diego. You want to try and stay as true to the animated version, the original version of it. Now, I'm not the writer, so I could only work off of what I had. And I know the director really worked hard on making this movie fun, not just for the kids, but also for the parents, because we have to sit through these movies. And I thought he did a wonderful job of it. But there was there's a handful of things in the script that I felt didn't follow the character background. But they do what they can to make it work for the film, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Just like when they're doing a movie off of a book, they can't get everything right. They have to stay as close as they can to it, but still be able to tell the story and keep it entertaining in the hour and a half window that you've created. Because if they were to do, a book, if it's 500 pages, a novel, they can't make you a 500-minute movie. It's just impossible. And with the animated series, there's a lot going on, and they really wanted to keep things true, but at the same time, they wanted to create, which I thought they did a really good job of a transition of her imagination to real life. And then trying to keep her as real as possible, but having a bit of quirky and kookiness to her, which worked because they really had some really good character development, which you got audience sees in the beginning as being like a homeschooled kid in the jungle. So you realize she's in this little animated world in her head all the time because she probably doesn't have very many friends to play with because she's being homeschooled and she lives in the middle of a jungle. So I think it all made sense. I did a really good job of all that. Like, like my character is an animal. I think I'm supposed to be like an animal vet in the animated series, but in the movie, I'm a doctor, which is fine. but they didn't really go into it too much. They kept it focused on more on her and Diego. So, you know, who knows if they'll make another one? I hope they do. I hope they do.
I hope
We
so
had so much
too.
fun doing it. But for as actors, I think, and this is good. This goes for all of us, including, you know, Isabella, who plays Dora. You know, it's about just trying to stay as true to what viewers would expect from the character, but at the same time, knowing that, you know, at the same time, knowing that none of us are going to get it 100%. You know, there's pressure on us, but at the same time, we have to just sort of let go and just be, and let the director direct and take his direction and do what's being asked of us. Because there's no way that any project will ever suit everyone's minds of what they had in mind for the characters. You can't keep everybody happy at the end of the day. And that goes with anything, whether it be an animated series being turned into a live action, or novels or stories being turned into live action. We're not going to satisfy everybody, but just, you know, do your best.
What was the atmosphere like on set?
Happy. We were. Oh gosh, I have footage of like Pia Miller. Malachi was teaching us how to do. Oh geez, what's that thing where the kids go to the side?
Oh, the floss.
The floss. He was teaching us the floss on set. No, it was honestly. Look, we're all a bit spoiled on that job. So every morning when I was on set, they'd pick me up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning. A car would show up at my house, and I'd hop into a car with the happiest person. And it was happiness from my drive from here to set, to being on set, to wrapping, to, you know, going out for dinner. It was a very, very positive, fun experience. The director is that way as well. He's a very, very fun guy. James Bobbin is, you know, you won't hear anything bad about him because there isn't. I mean, he's just such a nice, fun, he enjoys his job. And I think everybody on set was enjoying their job, which just makes it a great atmosphere for all of us to work in.
That sounds amazing. It sounds like it looked like you had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
This will be the last question.
Okay.
If you weren't an actor, what would you think you would have been? Or like, what would you do as your career?
It would still be, if I wasn't acting, I'd still be doing something creative, whether it be photography, cinematography, painting, maybe working in the art department or art designing, on projects. Even, you know, I've always loved structure, architecture. So there's a variety of things, but it would probably be down, you know, the creative road. But, you know, if I had stayed in Livingston, you know what's funny is if I stayed in Livingston, I don't really know if I would have been doing what I was passionate about. Let's say it's harder in smaller towns because you don't have, you don't have the venues or the experienced mentors in the area to help guide you.
Yeah, I get how that feels.
Because they've gone into bigger cities where the work is. So, I mean, you know, look, as soon as I graduated from high school, I hopped in my car, packed my car, and I moved to LA. And then when I was in LA, I was doing theater, and I realized doing theater and going to school, you couldn't work. So my parents were helping me, you know, they were flipping the bill. They were helping me pay for school and for me to keep a roof over my head. But the deal was, as soon as the term was over, I was to come back home because they couldn't afford to keep me out, and I couldn't afford to be at school. So I did a term in Huntington Beach at Golden West Community College. And then I went straight to Stanislaus State, applied for Stanislaus State University, and I lived from home for a year and a half. because that's where I could afford to, I could work, I could do theater, I could work, I could, be at home and not have to pay that bill, and save some money so that on my next venture back to LA, I could afford it. And that's what I did. I came back home, worked a bunch of jobs, and went to school and did theater. And then a year and a half later, I hopped back in my car and I went straight back to LA and started over again. But with money in my pocket and financial aid helping me out as well. I come from a lower income family. And then that turned into, where I'm at today. But it's not easy though. Leaving home is not easy, you guys.
Yeah. My plan is to move to LA after high school too.
Yeah, it's really, really hard. Look, you coming from where are you guys living now?
I live in Turlock.
You live in Turlock. Turlock's a pretty big town, but it's tiny compared to LA. Turlock's also a very conservative town.
Oh yeah.
Los Angeles is not, which is why I didn't belong in the small town, because I'm just not a conservative person. Even with finances, I'm not conservative. I love to have fun. I love to, bend the rules. Very adventurous. I'm not saying that conservative folks don't do that, but I kind of don't. I'm not that person. Said like my vibe just didn't work there. In LA, and then in LA when I moved, I was in over my head. I cried a lot. I was scared. Felt alone, and this went on for months. Privately, I wouldn't. No one really knew. I missed my family. I think I did that drive every weekend for the first year. So I was doing that drive so I'd leave on Friday and come back on Sunday. So I'd leave LA on Friday, come back on Sunday. I was so homesick and I missed my family and I was scared. It's moving away, but yeah, still having that security blanket, which is your family. So like moving from Turlock to like Modesto, right? Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Easy, great transition. If you need anything from mom and dad, they're there. They come visit. Like you can. It's like a slow separation. When
Yeah.
you move from there to LA, that's gone. You're by yourself. It can be scary and lonely. So it just takes a while. And it's different for everybody. Different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I felt alone for a long time while I was there. In the beginning. And then I slowly became a resident, slowly became a local. And that's when things changed and I was a much happier place. And then of course, years later, fall in love, get married, and your priorities continue to change. And look, you can go out to LA to be an actress and something changes, something snaps where you know what, actually I want to direct, or I want to write, I want to produce. And those are great things. You're going to be in a city where you can do all those things, and you can learn about all those things, and get a taste of them and see if you like them. I did that when I was studying acting. I also went and worked with E! Entertainment and MTV, working in production to get a taste of it. And I actually really enjoyed it. But I wasn't driven by it. It didn't drive me to continue doing it. But the acting did. So that's what I stuck to. But it's nice to feel it out, give it a try, and you won't get that in areas where those professions don't exist. So yeah, so I would say if you move when you finish high school and you want to pursue the film industry, it is best that you move to an area where that industry exists. So whether that be LA, Hollywood. Where else in the US? But Canada is another place you guys can look into. There's a lot of work happening in Toronto and Ontario and Canada. Those two places have a lot of film work. And then, or if you want to work, or if you want to go overseas, Australia, Sydney or Brisbane or Melbourne, there's a lot of film work here. Or the UK has a lot of film work as well. And these are all, I'd say, pretty safe places, that being Australia, Canada, and the UK. I didn't mention LA, did I? So just keep that in mind. Yeah, it's those are probably safer places. That's just reality.
Yeah.
Keep those guards up. Keep those guards up.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today.
You're so welcome.
This has been really fun. I learned a lot. Thank you so much for listening to our 3rd episode. I hope you all enjoyed it and have a wonderful day.